Hi everyone, welcome to the presentation. I'm Erik Moore and I'm the Program Director for the Online Masters of Science in Cybersecurity Leadership at Seattle University. I'll be presenting some of the work I've been doing there today. I do research in cyber defense and cybersecurity education and have worked in industry and with the defense community for years in areas like cyber defense, forensic investigations, and hacking malware using reverse engineering, trying to find out how it's put together. I also design avatar-based scenarios in Second Life. That's what this presentation is going to be about. Really, the program at Seattle University is asynchronous online, so there are no Zoom sessions, and we still need to have effective immersion for students in a variety of ways. And those include really avatar-based scenarios, challenges that students get in the first year, and every single class has those. But we really use 3 different formats, and those include engaging with peers in class and with industry professionals through short video clips and text. This means the student would record a clip on a topic, they would send it over, and then other students can reply via text, or an industry leader replies to questions or is interviewed, and then students reply back in text. This allows students to be in any time zone. Then we also engage the students in immersive technologies where they learn how to hack their own computer systems. They learn how to harden and ensure their own computer systems using technologies themselves, so they get that spidey sense for where are the risks at. Then also we have the 3D avatar-based experiences I was mentioning, and we'll look at some of those today. And many of those use AI chatbots. So in 2026, we're using AI large language models to solve the problems and assist with writing and research. I mean, that's not just this program here, that's everybody. And what's often missing from those is those text-based interactions is something interactive with situation in spatial contexts. And so looking to incorporate these things, make them work together, is something I think a lot of people here in Second Life are doing, and really want to just present where my work is at, where things are going. These avatar experiences provide cybersecurity challenges for students where they must analyze the conversation and the context together, as we often do in the real world. Cybersecurity, while a lot of it is done on the wire, a lot of real cybersecurity is done by showing up at the site, talking to people, doing interviews, looking around the facility, and finding out how business processes are put together. So what we're looking at above is a data center where there's a forensic investigation going on, and it's taking place parallel with a police investigation or in support of a police investigation. So let's get into where the bots are. You can see in this show transparent view of Second Life that the bot in front has a couple of extra boxes next to it. And this allows us to put scripts in. We could put it in the actual bot, but this was just an earlier version where the scripts were usually kept in separate Second Life objects. If you look inside the script, you can see a little of what's going on here. And particularly in this one, you may notice that there's the ELIZA script. So the ELIZA is a form of chatbot. This script is done in Linden scripting language. And you can see that language there on the right-hand side. It looks like C or Java or something like that. And on the left side, you can see the scripts. So the ELIZA bot is a bot set up like a Rogerian psychologist or psychotherapist. If it sees a word, then it will trigger automatic responses. And on the left side, you can see that there's a can you, and if it detects that phrase, it will reply with I can help. Whereas under warrant, it has 3 different replies it can give. On the right side, you can see just a little bit of the coding language that's used to create that. An important thing about this is that this scripting is all done within the bot. There's no backend API to the cloud. There's no ChatGPT. There's nothing like that. And really, this kind of thing has been around a very long time. So we've just gone over that. I'm just putting the text up there. So this is a little different than large language models. And I think for people who are using AI in these types of environments, particularly if you're doing something in counseling or other things like that inside of Second Life, it's important to realize that the LLM or the connections to things like ChatGPT from Second Life have to go through a relay at this point. And that means that there's some other provider out there who is also seeing the traffic going on. So it may not be as confidential as you're expecting. The ELIZA bot was an AI chatbot developed from 1964 to 1967. It's really a very small footprint, so it fits neatly inside of Second Life objects without needing any of that back-end work. When students come into the experience, they're really looking at, they're landing in a landing pad area. Oops, sorry, let me get back here. Let's see. Just help the speakeasy to keep up here. So when they land, they're landing in a blue foyer, and they have instructions on what to do. This area is open. It's Seattle U01 is the name of this sim, or Seattle U01. And if you go there to this particular site, you can see all these instructions too and go through the scenario yourself. So then they go across this light bridge, which here you see in the bottom right. And once they get in there, they know they're in scenario. So they're not saying, for instance, in the lobby area, there's a map. And they don't say, oh, there's a map of the facility. That would be a security risk. Well, of course it would, but we have to have that as part of the scenario. Here you can also see a lot of other scenarios in pods up above. This keeps the student focused and allows them to get to the place, and they teleport directly to the location. So many scenarios are not part of a larger space or a larger city. It's just the one building they have to go through or one thing they have to do. So I really want to give credit to the Second Life community, and it's one thing that made it incredibly easy for me to work here in Second Life building these things. A lot of the things you see and a lot of the textures you see skinned onto surfaces that I built are really from the community. They're bought on Marketplace, they're open source, and they come from other places like that. So I'm really grateful for that, seeing that happen in the work. So this scenario is a little bit different. Here, it's a large bank with 4 stories. There are a lot of different things going on. And on the bottom floor, you can see there's a receptionist bot. This bot is playing the role of a robot, but over here the teller is playing the role on the right-hand side. The teller is there is a bot playing the role of a human teller. Up above, that is a bank director standing on the balcony there, playing the role, a bot playing the role of a human. So in these scenarios, often I use AI chatbots for humans and to play robots. So in addition to the cyber threat of crypto ransomware, there's also 0 days in a software upgrade. Those are little flaws that can cause trouble, and also physical security concerns that are more spatial problems that students have to resolve. Let's take a quick look at the code here. This is the code I can see, but there's also some code in the software I'm using that I can't see that helps me link to ChatGPT. In this particular case, it's you see there's the bio, and that is the string that allows me to describe what role ChatGPT is playing when it interacts on this particular connection. On the right side are the I/O configurations, and these can be like max range is how far away will this bot be listening to interact with an avatar. So those are critical things to understand when you're putting a scenario like this together. Another thing that happens in here, and I'm just going to go back a little bit, you can also see in the list of things inside the bot here in the edit panel or the edit palette that there's floating text above the bot, and everything is inside this particular bot. In addition, there's animations running on the bot so that it moves around as though it's waiting, not necessarily standing stiff. Okay, so some scenes in Second Life are really just spatial challenges where uh, the space itself dictates that some cyber thing has to happen. In this case, a drone has attacked a data center, and unfortunately, we see this happening in the Persian Gulf right now. And there are data centers that are being attacked, and data center managers are having to do exactly what our students are doing in this scenario, where they go into the data center, they see all the processes, all the servers that are running, and they realize they've lost half their generating power. And they have to shut down the servers that are non-essential, but make sure they keep all the servers going that are critical. So they're walking around inside doing this kind of thing. Another scenario we do is ethical challenges. So much like we saw before in an investigation where we were alongside police doing forensics, here it's more an ethical evaluation of the personnel that are around. This is because Seattle University has an ethics course in their class, and in this program, we use avatar scenarios for people to find the ethical frames of people, what they're doing, how they're interacting. And so ChatGPT does a great job of this. One reason that this is also effective is because students who come in and they're saying, oh, I could just copy and paste your scenario in and come up with a result. Well, the ChatGPT here is interacting with students. They have to be in the scenario. And what is in the scenario also needs to be taken into consideration with what they're doing, not just the bot interaction. So even if you're using OpenClaw or something like that to interact, you would still need to look around the scene and figure out what's going on. So in the last scene, there were a lot of 3D personas and different things that interact as humans. And in this one, this scenario is fully about the bots. And space stations are going to be highly dependent on artificial intelligence to keep things running. This is going to be like Star Wars. You'll have droids running around. And I think that's a good way to think of it, to give a person an idea of where we're going. We already have little bots in our homes, but some drones or autonomous AI robots will be interacting with in different ways, and what we see in front of us and what we expect the risks of an autonomous bot with weapons is very different. And so students may talk to this bot, and the context will change the nature of how they do their risk evaluations of these bots. Students go in, they have to interview the bots, describe the context, and say what the risks are, and come up with a risk evaluation for the entire space station. Medical bot would have very different things. Again, if you look for Star Trek Voyager or other examples, robots being used in medicine are really on the rise. And right now, those robots are being controlled by humans carefully as they go through, if you're using a robotic surgery suite. But these things are preventing large scars on the body. They're dramatically increasing the ability to heal rapidly, and they're in use in most large hospitals right now. Not autonomous, but controlled by a human to reach into the body without making large incisions. So students have to consider the risk of those kinds of things. An area where students have less intuitive sense of risk is in maintenance. The two we just showed are especially something carrying a weapon or something doing surgery, really feel like there's a strong risk there. But even with maintenance, as you begin to use one of these shuttles, then the same type of risks come up. So students have to go through that and learn how to do it. This one is a little more like a Roomba, and some students actually in this scenario will skip over and miss this bot, even though there's a huge sign that says Janitor AI Robot. They just consider it's unimportant and not part of the scenario. But sometimes the very small IoT things in your environment, like your TV, like a router, like something else that you've left on, some device like an Echo or something like that, can really have impact, especially if they're old. And keeping track of things like that is important so the students can look at that closely and see what's going on. Now, the data scientist here is how we think more of ChatGPT and Claude and all of the others, Gemini, that are out there that we look at, or Copilot. What kind of data do we want? How do we want something put together? What would be the best way to do something for representing data? Or if command control decisions are made, what should I be looking at to do that? This is often how we think about it now. And now it seems just a little bit like a small copy machine sitting in the room. In fact, our phones will be the access points to this, an earbud or something like that, where we're working with these using heads-up displays and glasses and other areas will be a more familiar way of looking at these kinds of things. So this is kind of where I want to leave it with the most familiar, and just think about how we can get our students out there looking at the unusual landscape, the rising threats, and that's what this exercise is all about. Getting the students to engage where people are at as the bot imitates people and things like that. So I'm hoping that it really does change how we learn in a good way. And I've got good results on this. Something I didn't put in the Easy Speak is that some students do come in and say they can't spend a lot of time here because it makes them dizzy, but they generally work through it. But the occasional student, I will shoulder surf. I'll run it and they'll shoulder surf as I go through and do it, or I can talk them through the exercise. But really letting them explore and discover for themselves is a much better way to do it. Again, I mentioned earlier that because this is in a virtual world, students using the LLMs to bypass learning is less of a possibility for them. And also it becomes a more vivid experience. You can reach me at emore1@seattleu.edu if you have questions, or I can answer questions here. Really appreciate you all being here and hope this is helpful. I'll watch the chat, and that's the end of the Easy Speak narrative and this presentation. Thank you. Glad to present. Yeah, it's been really a lot of fun to design these in-world scenarios. A lot of the students are into this, and that becomes another part of the adventure for them. The facility you visited last year was the CyberX facility. That was designed with a grant from the National Security Agency. This is a different one. It's Seattle U01. And if you look that up in the browser, you can get there. The CyberX one has about 5-6 scenarios in it. And this one has about 15 scenarios in it at this point. So there's a lot of different things that are new, but some of them are moved over from the original NSA site. And I've just been designing one for every course over the last 2 years. So you can imagine that that ends up being quite a few. So you're right, Keeper. Okay, we're into the security questions. This is good. So, but any question is great, or any comment I really appreciate. The idea is that it is a security risk to have them talking in local chat with the bot, and not only that, going through the owner of some relay that heads it back to ChatGPT. But the idea is to do an evaluation of that before we would launch it. And the evaluation suggests that none of the information is critical. As the students are talking to the bots, they're aware of these situations, they're prepped, and so they're trying to complete the assignment, and there's nothing private or critical about the work that they're doing there. So when that happens, the security assessment will suggest that open chat is really okay, rather than needing to secure everything. One of the most important rules of security is only secure to the appropriate level and don't overspend or don't cause undue complexity. And but Keeper, that's a great point about what kind of security do we need for the scenario itself. Then I see Dolly says, are you studying the effectiveness of your approach? Sure, well conceived, but I wonder if you have been collecting data. So this is unfortunately, I've only been collecting operational data, and we have a lot of operational data about the acceptance and of this program in terms of how students like it, what they feel like they learn, how if it accelerates their learning, and we have questionnaires that they take at the end. But I've not been offering the acknowledgement that it's part of a research project that will be published. We're not doing that. But there is a great study that comes out of, I think it's Qatar, where I was working with a gentleman there who was doing research on one of my scenarios. It's also in these builds. And he found that he showed PowerPoints to students in a classroom, and then he took another batch of students and had those students look at the same PowerPoints in the virtual world, and it was a significantly higher ability to retain the content of the PowerPoints. We think it's generally because it's um, it's a novel environment, and so they remember. It's interesting. That's part of what we're trying to leverage here, is that they go into these experiences and they'll remember the experiences. Human beings generally, because of our need to navigate through space and to be able to get back where we came from without getting lost, it's a natural instinctual trait or capability in our brain that we will remember more vividly something that is contextualized in a novel place. So I want to collect data and do the kind of work you're talking about in a scientific way that I can publish, but we've been racing to put all these scenarios together to build it, literally putting the bricks out as the students are walking. So there hasn't been time to do it yet. And let's see. Talk to bots ethically rather than on their own, perhaps. So this is not exactly true. There are we don't teach them how to talk to bots ethically, but we teach them how to differentiate between different ethical frameworks. And those, like a virtue framework or a pragmatist framework, or if we're looking at something like utilitarianism framework. And so the bots are designed so that they'll be in each of these frameworks, and the students are using their own creativity to try to figure out what framework is a particular bot using. That's the idea of this scenario, or it's of the ethical scenario. Right. In a real scenario, if you're working through something like that, it would either need to be in private, or it would need to be with a group of professionals who are trained and who are authorized and have the responsibility to be there and do that work. That's absolutely right. A great thing we discovered is, of course, that ChatGPT can talk to students in many languages, even though it's using the bio from English, so that students can use it in their native language, and we do have international students. But the text in the building is all in English, and I'm hoping the students are using Google Image Translate to be able to do things like that. I'm not sure what the closed shop during translation or investigation is, but glad to respond to that if you can clarify a bit. But right. So it is possible to do this. We all know how to do it. It's we would run our own LLM in a virtual machine in our own either cloud or own server space. And then we could run OpenSim and have our own objects inside of that space, and have the students have that space cordoned off using a VPN if we wanted higher security. And then only students who were knew the connection to the VPN would be able to get in and connect to the servers. So there are ways of doing it, but you can see that doing all that adds a lot more to the complexity. There's a team I've been working with who wants me to do that, but the pressure to get all the work done at Seattle University is top priority. And when I get the full program taught and we graduate students, which will happen in fall of 2026, we'll have our first graduates. And then I'll have more time to do some of these other things. I really appreciate you all bringing these things to the table, because the security of the system itself and other things like that will allow us to do more secure role play with tabletop exercises for executives. And then we will not want it going through some relay. We will not want it going through ChatGPT. We'll want it to be on a private LLM, and we'll want it to be direct connections to the bots in a secure scenario inside of OpenSIM. Yeah, we can definitely do a tour. Just reach out, and I'm happy to schedule a tour with anyone. Or you, uh, maybe a tour is better, but if you want to snoop around, that's okay too. That's Seattle U01. That sim. Just you can type it in above like that, and it will take you over there. But definitely, we can do a tour. In fact, if someone wants to stick around here afterwards, I don't want to take away from the VWBPE presentations. So my guess is there's presentations after this one, and I wouldn't want to take away from that. So maybe it's better to schedule another time. Sure. I really appreciate it, Marie. So if you want to go do a tour right now, we could go over right after this and have a look around. And then you can save a landmark and come back to it some other time if you like. That's the way to dig right into it. Okay, so if you want to do a tour right now, please IM me in a separate private channel so that I can teleport you over there, and I'll have you up on my conversation palette. That's right. Just jump into the fire. Watch out. You'll have to figure out all kinds of security scenarios. So Ellie's saying that we do have an event after this, so let's postpone it and just IM me, and I will save your or just IM me with a request of what time frame you'd like to have a tour in, and let's do it that way. Yeah, I definitely want to support the VWBPE, and I don't want to draw people away from this event. It's such an amazing event, brings people from all over, so many different communities. Thank you.